After arriving home from school, a boy named Ishan plays with the dogs inside the compound. He also throws them a sheet of paper to play with before he heads inside to meet his mom Maya, who is cleaning the house. Shortly after, while Ishan is playing with a puzzle, Maya asks if he collected his exam papers from school, but he just ignores her. Almost immediately, Ishan's brother, Johan, returns from school and tells his mom about his excellent results. Ishan admires Johan's brilliance, but when Johan asks about his results, he ignores him and focuses on the puzzle. He eventually runs outside to play with the dogs, while some kids in the compound also play cricket. As the ball rolls toward him, Ishan is asked to throw it back. Unfortunately, he ends up throwing it over the fence, and even though he looks remorseful, a boy named Ranjit insults him. As Ranjit also tells Ishan to get back the ball, he refuses to do this, and they suddenly start fighting.
क्या देख रहा हूँ? क्या देख रहा है?
Ishan initially gets the upper hand, but Ranjit eventually hits his head on the floor. Ishan gets badly hurt and is forced to bite Ranjit so he can run away. As he heads into the apartment building, he knocks down Ranjit's plant pots and heads to the roof. He then thinks about what happened and starts crying because he's fed up with people always insulting him. He eventually wipes his tears and plays with a kite on the roof. When he returns to his family's apartment, he hears Ranjit's mom complaining to his dad, Nankishore, about what he did to Ranjit. As Nankishore sees Ishan, he calls him into the house and asks about what happened. Ishan stays silent and Nankishore slaps him out of anger. Ranjit looks happy about this, and he tells Nankishore that Ishan also tore his shirt. Ishan looks shocked because it's a lie, and he attacks Ranjit. Nankishore quickly pulls Ishan back, and Ranjit leaves their apartment with his mom. Nankishore then complains about how Ishan is always getting into trouble.
School se complain, building se complain.
As he's about to slap Ishan again, his hand nearly hits Maya. Ishan finds this funny, but Nankishore looks pissed and threatens to send him to a boarding school if he doesn't change his behavior. As he keeps complaining about Ishan's troublesome behavior, Maya goes to check the cuts on Ishan's face. Nankishore believes she's always pampering Ishan, but she doesn't respond to him. She then gets Ishan to go to the bathroom to have a shower and change his clothes. The next day, Nankishore leaves the city for a business trip, and Maya gets the kids ready for school. During the first class of the day, the English teacher tells Ishan to read a sentence from a page in his textbook. Ishan struggles to understand her instructions on which page to open, and the teacher is forced to tell another student to help him. After the page is opened, Ishan is unable to read the sentence because he believes the letters are dancing, and the teacher sends him out of her class.
Get out! Get out of my class!
Ishan spends a few minutes outside, and as the teacher leaves, she tells him to go back inside. When he enters the class, one of his classmates asks if he has done his math homework and gotten his test papers signed. Ishan realizes that he hasn't done either, and as his classmates make fun of him, he carries his bag and sneaks out of school. He then walks around the city and eventually returns to school so he can take the bus home. When he gets home, he spends some time painting, and Johan admires his work. Shortly after, Ishan does his homework, but as Maya checks it, she complains about his handwriting. She also mentions that he misspelled nearly all the words he wrote down. As she tells him to correct it, Ishan says no and runs out of the living room. Later that night, Ishan tells Johan about how he left school earlier in the day. Johan looks shocked and scolds Ishan for leaving school. He then asks if Ishan has told their mom about it, but he says he doesn't want to tell her. After this, he begs Johan to help him write a fake absent note from their mom to his teacher.
Please, Dada.
Johan says he won't do that, but as Ishan begs him, he eventually agrees. The next day, Ishan shows the fake absent note to his teacher as an explanation for why he wasn't in class the previous day. The teacher accepts it, and Ishan looks happy about this. Shortly after, the teacher gives the class a test, but it appears to be very difficult for Ishan. He eventually makes up an imaginative way to solve a multiplication problem, but he gets the wrong answer. Almost immediately, the time for the test runs out, and the teacher collects everyone's sheet of paper. The next day, Nand Kishore returns from his business trip, and Ishan looks happy to see that he's back. Interestingly, Nand Kishore sees the fake absent note on the floor and asks Maya if there was anything wrong with Ishan while he was away. Maya says he was fine, and as she sees the absent note, she mentions that she wasn't the one who wrote it. Nand Kishore looks shocked and wonders if Ishan had anything to do with it. Even though he looks scared, Ishan says he skipped school on that day.
School bunk kiya Ishan.
And Nand Kishore gets pissed. He then asks who wrote the note for him, and Ishan is forced to confess that Johan helped him. Nand Kishore cannot believe that Ishan pulled off something like that, and Maya also looks shocked. The next day, Ishan's teachers call his parents to come to the school. When they get there, his teachers complain about how he keeps failing their subjects. The headmistress also mentions that she won't be able to let Ishan stay in the 3rd grade for the 3rd year. She adds that Nand Kishore and Maya have to consider sending Ishan to a special school. On the way home, Nand Kishore seems pissed that the headmistress suggested that Ishan is retarded. Maya also complains about how she has had to give up her career to help Ishan, but things still haven't gotten better. Nand Kishore tells her not to blame herself, and as he looks at Ishan, he says he knows what to do.
ये ऐसे नहीं सुधरेगा.
When they get home, Nand Kishore calls one of his uncles to help him secure a spot at a boarding school for Ishan. Maya asks if it's possible for them to accept Ishan midway through the school term, and Nand Kishore says they will. Maya looks worried about this because Ishan has never been far away from home before, but Nand Kishore says he'll learn to cope after they've disciplined him at the boarding school. Ishan looks scared and begs his dad not to let him go, but Nand Kishore seems bent on taking him to the school after Diwali. Later that night, Ishan has a bad dream in which he gets stranded at the train station after getting separated from his mom. As he seems scared and calls for his mom in his sleep, Maya comes over to check up on him. When he wakes up, Ishan cries and tells Maya that he doesn't want to go to the boarding school, but she says he has to go. Ishan continues saying he doesn't want to go, and Maya feels sad because she's also not in support of letting her youngest son head to a boarding school.
नहीं जाने मुझे boarding school.
After Diwali, Nand Kishore takes Ishan to the boarding school just as planned, and Maya and Johan follow him. Just as the school's headmaster sees Ishan, he mentions that Nand Kishore has talked about how troublesome he is. He adds that the school takes discipline seriously, and that Nand Kishore doesn't have to worry about anything because they've tamed many wild kids in the past. Shortly after, Nand Kishore and his family leave, and Ishan holds back tears as he watches their car head out of the school. Maya and Johan also feel sad about leaving Ishan behind, but there's nothing they can do about it. Meanwhile, the headmaster tells Ishan to head to the dorm to change his clothes. As he gets there, Ishan just sits on his bed and continues thinking about his family. The headmaster eventually forces him to change his clothes so he can join his colleagues at the cafeteria for dinner. As he gets there, Ishan remains silent and just stares at his food while the other kids are eating.
चलो जाए कपड़े बदलो. Come on.
Later that night, while everyone is sleeping, Ishan heads to the bathroom to cry. After a while, he wipes his tears and returns to his bed to sleep. Elsewhere, Maya gets home and goes into Ishan's room. As she looks around, she finds a jotter with a drawing depicting how Ishan got separated from his family. Maya looks sad as she sees this, and she wonders if they made the right decision to send Ishan to the boarding school. The next morning, Ishan heads to the classroom, and a teacher named Tiwari introduces him to everyone. He also gets Ishan to sit in front, beside a boy named Rajan, who is the best student in the class. Shortly after, Tiwari tells Rajan to read a passage while Ishan explains the perspective of the writer. After Rajan is done reading the passage, Ishan gives his answer, but Tiwari thinks he's saying rubbish. Ishan looks disappointed by this, and he stays silent for the remainder of the class.
और नदी का चित्र फिर से उभर आता है।
After the class ends, Rajan tells Ishan that his answer was also correct, but that Tiwari often prefers the students to give answers just as they're written in the book. They eventually leave the class together, and Ishan asks why Rajan is in the boarding school, even though he always comes first in class. Rajan doesn't understand this, and Ishan says that boarding schools are only meant for stubborn kids. Rajan then mentions that his dad is actually the estate manager in the school, and that he lives in the staff quarters. He adds that kids are not sent to boarding schools to be punished. Later on, during art class, Ishan gets distracted, and the teacher, Holkar, ends up beating him for failing to identify a mark on the chalkboard. Unfortunately, things don't turn out well for Ishan during his other classes, and he experiences the same problem at his other school, where he couldn't identify words or read well. Days later, he gets frustrated and runs into the dorm to cry. Interestingly, Nankishore, Maya, and Johan happen to be around to see him, but instead of going to meet them, he runs out of the room and heads to the basketball court. His parents and brother don't understand this, and as they wonder where he's going, they notice that he's just running around the court. Shortly after, he sits down with Johan, but he doesn't say anything. Just then, Nankishore gets permission from the headmaster to take Ishan away for just a day. As they get to their hotel room, Johan gives Ishan a coloring set he got for him, but he doesn't seem excited to see it. Johan looks disappointed by this, and he also gets worried because Ishan still hasn't said a word to him. The next day, Ishan returns to school and keeps the coloring set Johan gave him in his drawer.
See what I got you. Watercolors.
He eventually heads to the roof of the dorm, and as he stands too close to the edge, Rajan sees him and looks scared. Ishan eventually leaves the edge, and Rajan looks worried as to why he went that close. He eventually mentions that the school has just hired a substitute art teacher because Holkar won't be around for a while. As they head to the class, the new teacher, Ram, dresses like a clown and plays around with the kids. Everyone seems happy to have him around, but Ishan just sits still and doesn't react while his classmates are dancing with Ram. Shortly after, Ram tells the kids to paint whatever comes to their mind on a sheet of paper. As he then inspects their work, he notices that Ishan is the only one who hasn't done anything. Ram believes Ishan is still looking for inspiration, and he walks away to check the paintings of other students. As everyone finishes up with their painting, Ram walks near Ishan's table and notices that his sheet of paper is still untouched. He looks surprised and asks Ishan if there's anything wrong, but he doesn't respond. As Ram also asks for Ishan's name, Ishan remains silent, but Rajan answers the teacher's question.
पेंटिंग करना अच्छा नहीं लगता?
Later that day, Ishan appears to be depressed, and he spends some time staring at a pool of water inside the school. As he heads back to the dorm, the headmaster informs him that his mom has been calling him. Ishan then heads to the admin block to take the call, but as Maya and Johan try to talk to him, he just drops the phone and walks away. The next day, Ram tries to put the children's drawings into Holkar's locker, but Tiwari tells him not to do that because Holkar only used to keep books there. He adds that Ram can return the drawings to the kids because they're of no use anyway. Ram looks shocked by this, but another teacher named Sen also complains about how the kids have turned Ram's class into a marketplace. Ram says that kids have to be allowed to express themselves, but Sen mentions that the headmaster wants discipline. Tiwari adds that the kids in the school are normal, unlike the ones at the Tulip School for disabled kids, where Ram also works. Ram looks shocked to hear this, but Tiwari keeps talking about how the disabled kids can't be successful regardless of whatever anyone teaches them. Sen also mentions that they're supposed to train the kids at the boarding school to take on the world instead of dancing around. Ram is shocked by their opinions, but he just jokes with them. Shortly after, he heads out and sees Ishan kneeling outside his classroom. As he asks what's wrong, Ishan moves closer to the door to avoid talking to Ram. Ram thinks he's making Ishan uncomfortable, and he walks away from him. Just as the school bell rings, Ram turns back, only to see that Ishan is no longer in front of the class. Later that day, Ram sees Rajan and asks about Ishan. Rajan then mentions that Ishan is behaving strangely only because he doesn't want to be at the boarding school. He adds that despite Ishan's efforts, he still happens to be struggling with how to read and write properly. Ram looks concerned by this, and he heads to the staff room to take a look at Ishan's book. After seeing some of Ishan's spellings, Ram notices a pattern and realizes that Ishan's academic difficulties might not be his fault. Later that day, Ram heads to the Tulip School and helps out the kids there. He eventually gets emotional while looking at the kids, and his colleague Jabin sees him. Ram then says that humans are worse than monsters because they're unaware of inner beauty. He eventually tells Jabin about Ishan and how he's scared for him because he looks depressed. He adds that Ishan's eyes are asking for help, and he's worried about the situation.
जाते ही किसी ने शीशा दिखा दिया।
The next day, Ram visits Ishan's parents and asks to see Ishan's old books. After checking them, Ram notices the same patterns as the ones he saw in the books at the new school. He also sees a painting in one of Ishan's books and asks about it. Maya says that it's Ishan's painting, and Ram looks shocked. Maya then takes him to Ishan's room to see all the paintings there. As he also sees the drawing of Ishan getting separated from his family, Ram looks sad and asks if he can get a bottle of water. After he drinks some water, he asks why they sent Ishan away, and Nankishore complains about how he kept failing 3rd grade while still being rebellious and disobedient. Ram says he's asking for the real cause and not the symptoms, but Nankishore looks confused. He then asks what Ram meant, and the teacher mentions that he noticed some patterns in Ishan's books. As he points them out to Maya, he says that Ishan clearly has a problem recognizing letters. He adds that Ishan is dyslexic.
बल्कि कई सारे अक्षर उल्टे लिखे, ये देखिए।
But Nankishore believes it's just an excuse for his son's poor grades. Ram looks disappointed as he hears this, and he picks up a carton and tells Nankishore to read the Chinese words on it. Nankishore says he can't, but Ram scolds him and tells him to read it. Almost immediately, Nankishore realizes what Ram is doing, and the teacher mentions that Ishan is facing the same problem. He adds that Ishan is also trying to cover up his inadequacies by being rebellious. Nankishore asks if his son is not normal, but Ram says that from Ishan's paintings, it's clear that he has a sharp mind. Nankishore doesn't seem impressed, and he mentions that Ishan won't be able to compete in the real world with just his painting skills. Ram looks disappointed again, and he says that what many people fail to understand is that kids have different capabilities, desires, and dreams. He adds that people often break their kids by trying to force them to do what they don't want. Maya looks sad to hear this, and after Ram leaves, she spends some time watching videos of Ishan from when he was little. The next day, Ram meets Jabin at the Tulips school and tells her about his conversation with Ishan's parents. He seems particularly pissed about the way Nankishore kept trying to make his son look like a failure. The following day at school, Ram shows Ishan his old drawing book, and he looks surprised. As he wonders how Ram got it, the teacher goes to the front of the class and tells the kids different stories of great men like Albert Einstein and Thomas Edison, who struggled with reading and writing when they were young. Ishan also participates in the class, and he looks happy and very interested in what Ram is talking about. Ram then tells the students that all the great men who struggled to read and write as children were often ridiculed and insulted. He adds that, despite this, they all persevered and made a difference in the world. He then tells the students that their class for the day will be dedicated to those men, and that everyone should go outside and make whatever they can with anything they find.
क्योंकि ये दुनिया को अपनी अलग नजर से देख पाए.
As they all head out, Ram calls Ishan back and tells him that there was someone he didn't mention while talking about dyslexic people. He then tells Ishan that he also had difficulty reading and writing when he was younger. He says that his dad always thought he would be a failure and that he never even believed in him. Ishan then asks if Ram went to his house, and he says he did. Shortly after, all the students start making different things, but Ishan's small wooden raft stands out, and everyone seems impressed with what he did. Days later, Ram prepares a presentation and goes to see the headmaster to make a case for Ishan to be tested orally in the meantime. The headmaster doesn't think it's a good strategy, but Ram shows him Ishan's drawings and mentions that Ishan is dyslexic. He adds that if Ishan is tested orally in all his classes, he'll start teaching him how to read and write so he can eventually meet up in class. Even though the headmaster is still skeptical about the idea, he agrees to give it a try, and Ram looks happy about this.
धीरे धीरे वो भी सुधर जाएगी.
Shortly after, Ram starts teaching Ishan privately, and even though he initially struggles with recognizing the letters in his book, he eventually starts to get better. After a while, Ram asks the headmaster for permission to organize a painting competition for teachers and students in the school. The headmaster gives him approval to do this, and he puts up a poster on the school's notice board to let everyone know about the competition. Later that day, Nand Kishore visits the school and asks to see Ram. After Ram leaves his class, Nand Kishore mentions that he only came around to inform him that his wife has been doing some research on dyslexia. Ram wonders why he's telling him about it, and Nand Kishore says that he wants the teacher to know that he and his wife care about their son, even though it didn't seem that way when he came to their house. Ram cannot believe this, and he says that Nand Kishore doesn't prove anything by learning about dyslexia. He, however, mentions that it's good to know that Nand Kishore thinks he cares. Nand Kishore feels bad as he hears this, and he says he's leaving already. Before he heads out, Ram tells him a story of a tribe that curses any tree they want to get rid of instead of cutting it down. As this translates to the fact that Nand Kishore has always insulted Ishan to bring him down, he feels sad and leaves. The next morning, Ishan wakes up very early and dresses up nicely before leaving the dorm. Later that day, all the students and teachers make their way to the venue of Ram's painting competition. Jabin also shows up as one of the guests, and she asks Ram for Ishan because she wants to meet him. Ram says he hasn't seen him yet, and as he asks Rajan about his friend, he mentions that Ishan left the dorm very early before everyone woke up. Ram looks confused but remains hopeful that Ishan will show up. Tawari and the other teachers arrive at the competition venue and joke about how Ram is making them participate in something that has never happened in the school before. After a while, the competition's special guest and chief judge, Lami, arrives, and Ram introduces her to the headmaster. He then goes around to look for Ishan, but still doesn't see him. He also asks some kids around if they've seen Ishan, but they say they haven't. Shortly after, the competition starts, and all the students start painting. As Ram keeps looking worried about Ishan's absence,
राजन कहाँ है वो?
Ishan suddenly shows up. Ram looks happy and immediately gives him a plain sheet of paper. Ram then shows him where to sit, but Ishan finds a more comfortable place to stay. Following this, he brings out the coloring set Johan gave him and starts painting. Ram also stares at Ishan as he starts painting his own entry for the competition. Shortly after, Ishan submits his work, and Ram looks impressed. As Ishan then walks over to see Ram's work, he sees that it's a painting of him. This makes him emotional, and Ram smiles at him. After everyone submits their work, the headmaster climbs the stage and commends everyone, including the teachers, for participating in the competition. He then announces that Ram will be made the permanent art teacher at the school. All the students look happy about this, and they rejoice with him. Shortly after, the headmaster mentions that Lajmi selected 2 paintings as the best artworks for the competition. He adds that she eventually had to choose one, which will be on the front page of the school's yearbook. As everyone wonders whose artwork it will be, the headmaster announces Ishan as the winner of the competition, with Ram finishing as a close second.
Ishan Nand Kishore.
Ram looks happy about this, but Ishan cannot believe that he has actually won the competition. As he seems shy, his classmates help him up and encourage him to go and collect his prize. After Ishan accepts his prize, he gets emotional and runs back to hug Ram, who also struggles to hold back tears. A while later, Ishan's parents arrive to pick him up for the holidays, and the principal shows them that Ishan's painting is on the school's yearbook cover. The principal also mentions that Ishan is very talented and he's happy to have him in the school. Nankishore looks surprised by this, but the headmaster tells him and Maya to go and meet Ishan's teachers to get a progress report. Almost immediately, they head over to the staff room to meet Tiwari and Sen. As Nankishore and Maya mention that they're Ishan's parents, the teachers look happy to see them. They then talk about how Ishan has tremendously improved compared to when he first arrived. Nankishore cannot believe this, but the teachers show him and Maya the progress report for Ishan's studies. As Maya takes a look at it, she thanks the teachers for helping her son, but they tell her that all credit must go to Ram because he was the one who helped Ishan get better.
He really turned the boy around.
After they head outside, they stand with Ram and watch Ishan playing with Johan. Nankishore cries as he sees Ishan smiling again, and he says he doesn't know how to thank Ram for helping his son. Ram says it's not a problem, and he hugs Nankishore. After this, Ram says goodbye to Ishan and says that he's going to miss him. He also tells Ishan to come back early after the holiday. After they hug each other, Ishan heads to the car with Johan and his parents. Before he enters the car, though, Ishan turns back and sees Ram waving at him. As he remembers everything Ram did for him, Ishan runs back to hug the teacher again. After spending 2 years in the same class because he can't read or write well, Ishan's dad is forced to send him to a boarding school. Unfortunately, nothing changes for Ishan regarding his studies, and he even becomes depressed. Just before Ishan completely falls into despair, Ram joins the boarding school as a teacher and discovers that Ishan's academic difficulties are because he's dyslexic. He then helps Ishan get better, and Nankishore realizes that he wasn't patient enough to understand his son's struggles. Sometimes all a kid needs is someone who believes in them.